The future depends on what we do in the present. In a small, drought-stricken village in India, 14-year-old Arjun lived with his widowed mother, Meera. Life had been harsh ever since his father passed away, leaving them with little more than a patch of barren land. The sun seemed relentless, and the cracked earth mirrored the despair in the hearts of the villagers. Crops had failed for years, and hope seemed like a distant dream. Yet Arjun refused to surrender to hopelessness. Every night, as he watched his mother sew by the dim light of an oil lamp, he would hear her sigh softly, her face lined with worrying. But instead of letting it break his spirit, it fueled his determination. "I have to do something," he thought. One afternoon, while fetching water from a distant well, Arjun noticed an ancient banyan tree standing tall and green in the middle of the arid land. The sight was mesmerizing, like an oasis in a desert. He couldn't help but ask his grandfather, who was one of the village elders, "Dadaji, why is that tree so healthy when everything else is dying?" "It planted itself long before you or I were born and has endured every storm and drought. It's a reminder that what we do today shapes the strength of tomorrow." Those words hit Arjun like a bolt of lightning. That night, as he lay on the hard cot in their hut, he couldn't sleep. His grandfather's wisdom echoed in his mind. The future wasn't a distant dream, it was a seed they could plant today. The next morning, Arjun woke up before dawn, a spark of determination in his heart. With the little savings they had, he bought a handful of drought-resistant seeds from a neighboring village. Armed with borrowed tools, he went to the barren field near their hut and began digging. His mother, seeing him drenched in sweat and dirt, approached him. "Arjun, what are you doing? The land is cursed." "Nothing will grow here," she said gently, her voice heavy with concern. But Arjun smiled. "Maybe, Mom," he replied, "but I can't sit and do nothing. If there's even a chance that these seeds will grow, I have to try. Our future depends on it." Arjun didn't stop. Every day he said to himself, "If the future depends on what we do today, then I will make today count." The days turned into weeks, and Arjun toiled tirelessly. The villagers laughed at him. "Why waste your energy on this cursed land?" they jeered. Even his friends shook their heads in disbelief, but Arjun kept going. Every seed he planted felt like a prayer, every drop of sweat like a sacrifice for a better future. Months passed, and just as doubt began creeping into his heart, something miraculous happened. A tiny green sprout pushed its way through the cracked soil. Arjun's ear swelled with joy, and he ran to show his mother. "Look, ma'am, it's working." Tears filled her eyes as she held the fragile sprout in her hands. The sight of the sprout stirred something in the villagers. Seeing Arjun's determination begin to bear fruit inspired them to join him. Slowly, more hands began to till the land and plant seeds. Families who had given up started working together, sharing tools and knowledge. Years later, what began as a barren field transformed into a thriving oasis. The trees Arjun planted attracted rainfall, replenishing the land and bringing life back to the village. Crops began to flourish, and the once desolate village became a bustling hub of activity and laughter. Children played in the shade of trees, and families sat together, sharing meals grown from their own soil. One day, a group of travelers visited the village, marveling at its greenery. They asked the now elderly Arjun, "How did all of this begin?" Arjun, his eyes twinkling with warmth, led them to the old banyan tree, the very one that had inspired him decades ago. "It began here," he said, placing a hand on the tree's sturdy trunk. "This tree taught me that the future depends on what we do in the present. So we planted seeds not just in the ground, but in our hearts, and those seeds grew into something bigger than any of us could have imagined." As the sun set over the vibrant landscape, the banyan tree stood tall, surrounded by lush greenery. It was no longer a lone survivor in a desert, but part of a forest of hope nurtured by faith, effort, and unity. Message: this story reminds us that every small action taken with faith and determination can lead to monumental change. Just as Arjun turned despair into hope, we, too, can plant seeds of effort in the present to create a better future, not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us.